enjoy your birds. Sometimes that can be really hard. The Shed Talk, my weekly magazine video series looking at the keeping, breeding and showing of cage birds with a particular focus, as always, on the exhibition style budgerigars. Well, as that little short intro might have suggested, things aren't going quite according to plan here in the budgerigar bird room, particularly around the breeding. So what I think I'll do in this episode is we're going to quickly do an update on the disaster that is my budgerigar breeding season. Well, not really, but yeah. So we'll have a quick roundup of the budgerigar breeding, and then just to cheer myself up and remember that it wasn't all bad at the beginning of the breeding season, I'm going to get the young birds out and we'll take a look at those and perhaps start splitting them. I'm thinking about splitting them into two different stock cages, one containing the ones I'm most likely to keep, and then another cage with the ones that are most likely to end up in the sales cage. So let's start off with the breeding. Oh no. So I'm going to start with what I think are the four real letdowns at the moment. I won't call them disasters, but the four cages that are currently causing me most concern, and those are cage 2, cage 3, cage 5 and cage 6. And with only 6 cages, 6 breeding cages going, it's, you know, that's well over half of the cages that I would consider to be going particularly poorly at the moment. So cage 2, this is the two light greens that we've put together. And I did say I'd really like to get something off of this particular pair. I did like the way they were matched up, and so I was quite looking forward to the way this was going. There were some good early signs. Hen cleared the nest box is still clearing the nest box. However, the problem I've got now is this cockbird has just gone out of condition, if not off colour. I've been watching him over the last 3 or 4 days. He shows no interest in the hen. If he does get anywhere near her, like when they're at the feeding dish, she chases him away. And he looks like he is, you know, like he's got a cold, I suppose would be the thing to say. He looks like he's feeling sorry for himself. So my plan with the cage 2, despite the fact that I'd like to get something off this, despite the fact that the hen has cleared the nest box, is I'm going to take the cockbird out and I'm going to give him a rest, keep an eye on him. I don't even know yet whether I'm going to put him in the flight or whether I'll find a separate cage for him, but I will keep an eye on him, and I will probably see if I can find another cockbird for this hen. I do have some thoughts, and let me know your views in the comment section. So my early thoughts are as to whether to put the Terry Sadler Dominant Pie back in with her. I say this because in the flight he is looking in great condition, and he is currently chasing a hen around who I probably wouldn't want to put him to. I don't think she compliments him at all. I might just get him back out. I did say I'd give him another go later on in the breeding season, so do you think it's too early? Let me have your thoughts. Currently I'm thinking about popping him in there. Anyway, so that's cage number 2. The next cage then is the real, I would say, if there was going to be a disaster, it's this cage, and that is cage number 3. It was all going gloriously for this pair, wasn't it? You know, we had 8 eggs laid, 5 full, all the rest of that. We've now lost all of the chicks in there, and if they're not feeding. there's now one egg left in the, or one clear egg left in the nest box. That's coming out tomorrow. I'm then going to refill the nest box, and I'm going to give them one more go. And I'm really hoping that if she does lay, and there are full eggs, that I will have somewhere else to move those eggs to. With the way things are going, it feels a little bit unlikely, but you know, I'm hoping that we'll have somewhere for us to move any full eggs to, and just to try and salvage something off this pair. Anyway, enough about pair number 3. That pair has really got me down a little bit. I feel, like I say, hard to enjoy it when they're doing that. Right, so the other one then in cage number 4, this is another pair that got off to a flying start. You know, hen cleared the nest box, she laid an egg, destroyed that egg, it was clear anyway, and now nothing. She sits in the nest box, nothing. I keep looking in the nest box to see whether there are any signs of any broken eggs in there. I can't see any sign of broken eggs. I can't see anything around here that suggests that she might be destroying the eggs. It's whether she's just stopped laying. I really don't know with this pair. I've got two ideas, and again, let me know in the comments. 2 ideas. So the first one is I might just pop a marble in there to see if, you know, because if she is breaking them, that might stop her from breaking the egg. She might sit on the marble, and then when she lays again, realising she can't destroy the marble, she'll stop destroying the egg. My other thought is to basically close the nest box off for a couple of weeks, or a week and a half, something like that, just to get her back out of the nest box, to get the cockbird back interested in her, because at the moment he's not really showing any major interest in her at all when she's out, which is unusual. Normally when they come out, if she's ready to start laying, the cockbird is, you know, chasing her and really trying to mate. So, but there's no sign of that. So I don't know whether what it is with this pair, considering how well they went initially. Okay, and finally then in cage number 6, again, you know, this, you might remember, this is the pair that we've only just put down, and in the last episode there was all hope. They, you know, they were mating and continue to see the cockbird mating with the hen whenever she comes out. It's all over her. She's laid 1 egg and stopped, nothing. So that's now been 5 days since the first egg was laid. That first egg is clear, but she's now stopped laying completely. If she doesn't lay again within the next week, then I will definitely remove that egg, close the nest box off, and just get her excited about the nest box again, and then let this pair go down again and see if she starts laying. But you know what? I don't know. It just feels like the breeding season has almost, for the birds themselves, have decided it's come to an end. I did have a quick word with a couple of people out when I was up at Oxford 1910 over the weekend, and a number of other people have said they're having similar problems. So I don't know whether it's the way the weather is or what, but after the flying start we got off to, it just feels a little bit of a letdown now. Anyway, that's the 4 that are going badly. What about the 2 that are going relatively well? So what about the 2 cages then that aren't going quite so badly? And it's the 2 cages that are behind me here, cage number 1 and cage number 4. So cage number 1, this pair looks okay to me. I think we might have a little bit of, well, I'm going to say, you know, success with this pair, but it's a very big caveat to that. So what have we got then? So nest box has been cleared, and the cockbird and the hen are mating. So no eggs yet, but at least we've got a nest box clear, and we've got signs that the compatible pair, and you know, the cockbird mates almost every time the hen comes out. So I'm just waiting now on the first eggs in this nest box, and let's hope in the next episode I will be all cheerful about pair number one. Pair number, or the, sorry, cage number one. As for cage number four, this was what a mistake to make pair, where I left it closed for a little while. And the same thing here, the hen has definitely cleared the nest box, and every time she's out, cockbirds all over her. So again, I'm hopeful that cage number four will be the same as cage number one, and just maybe we'll get a few eggs to cheer us all up and get a re-kickstart the breeding season. Well, there we go. Enough about the, well, I'm not going to say disaster, but the problems I'm having with the breeding cages at the moment. Let's have a look at some of those young birds that we successfully bred earlier on in the year. So 2 birds off of the dominant pied. The light green cockbird on the left is from the first round, and the bar head that is just a dominant pied, a light green dominant pied, is from the second round. I'm going to see if I can get them on to 2 different perches if possible. I'm almost certain that the light green is going to be a keeper. He's a reasonable sized bird. For some reason the dominant pied, the baby dominant pied, wants to be on the same perch as him. Maybe we'll have to let them. She looks as if, sorry, the younger of the 2 looks like it's going to also be quite a big bird. But we do have a slightly older one. And this one, when I look at her, she looks a bit, or him, looks a bit narrow across the top of the head. But let's see if I can get the green to go across. There we go. I don't know if you can see it now. Looks a bit narrow across the top of the head. It's still got a bit of growing to do. But we'll have to wait and see, I think, on this one. So the green is probably going to be a keeper, the light green. The dominant pied may or may not be a keeper. For the time being, I think I'm going to pop the light green into the keeping cage and the young pied into the unsure cage. But we'll probably go into the sales cage for now, but we'll wait and see. It will almost certainly have to come out for the final assessment later on in the year. So there's 2 of the birds off of the pair 1, which was the pied pair. So these 2 birds are again off of the dominant pied cockbird. They're both hens actually, which is quite fortunate. And another light green who looks like it's going to be quite a big bird, and a very henny looking bird. So I think that is, being a hen, it's almost certainly going to be a keeper. And I think the other one, the dominant pied one that's standing a lot better in the cage, that's got a terrific, I like the style about that bird, a bit like Dad actually. Just seeing if I can get the green to settle, probably not. Yeah, so a bit like Dad, the dominant pied in here, it does look like it's going to be quite a nice hen. It's got a lovely depth of mask on it. In fact, both birds have, and they both look like they're going to be quite longish birds. They haven't got a lot of bulk about them, but yeah, so both of these 2, both being hens, I'm reasonably certain, are both going to go, for the time being, into the keeper's cage. Pleased with both of these 2 birds. From my shed, they both look okay. They're both not happy in the show cage, so they're not showing themselves the best. Like I say, the dominant pied more than the hen, more than the light green. I'll see if I can get a still of them when they're looking a bit better, a bit calmer, so you can get the rest of view of them. Anyway, there we go. That's 2 more for the keeper cage. So another couple of early round birds off of the dominant pied. And we've got a hen on the right hand side as you look at it, and this bird is definitely a keeper. I think you can see when you just look at her, she has some nice width across the eyes, or reasonable width, nice depth of mask, big spots, and she's a hen, so that makes her a keeper. The cockbird, which is pulling really badly at the moment, is another light green on the left, but when I look at that cockbird, I don't think that it's going to make the grade for me, considering it's one of the older birds. It's got a bit of length to it, but got poor wing carriage, fairly poor stance, no real great depth of mask, no real width. And again, I'll just see if I can get it to get back onto the perch and stand a little bit better. I know it's pulling, and I know it's still pulling. Just doesn't stand very well, and just not the best of birds. I mean, it's okay, but it's not. I don't think it's going to make my keeper cage. So that one's going to go into the sales cage for the time being. It will get another chance later on, but given how old it is, I don't think it's going to develop into a bird that's going to be a keeper. Unlike the hen, its sister. There we go, that's another two birds to look at. So we're moving on to what was my pair number 3, and these are two birds that came off the second round. You might remember them. Okay. It was the nest of many colours, I think we called it. And so we've got a hen Lutino. I'll just see if I can get one of them to go to the other perch. Yeah, so the young Lutino hen, I did say at the time I quite like the feather on this bird, and still do. And I know it's not the greatest of birds, but it stands reasonably well, has a reasonable width across the shoulder for a Lutino. And it's a Lutino hen, so I think that is going to be a keeper. Now, let's turn our attention to this yellow face opaline sky blue. Wow, what can we say? It's split for Lutino. That's what we can say. But otherwise, it's going to make someone a really nice little pet, because that is definitely not going to be a keeper for me. And I know it's a second round bird, so I know it's still got a bit of growing to do, but it's got nothing up between the eyes and no depth of mask. It's got absolutely nothing going for it other than the fact that it is split for Lino. So as I say, there is very little going for that bird. So I think the Lutino, just because it's a hen and it's a Lutino, is going to go in the keeper cage. And that little bird, the little yellow face sky blue opaline, is going to go into the sales cage. Okay, so these two birds are also off of the Lutino cockbird, and you can see the difference in them here. They're both not brilliant birds. We've got a slightly older bird on the left, cockbird, and a slightly younger cockbird on the right. So both these birds are split Lino. When I look at these, of the two, my first instinct of the two is to go for the light green, the older light green. However, it's the younger light green, which I think is a cinnamon, although when I look at its feet it doesn't look very cinnamon. So the one that's on the perch on the right hand side, I think, is the younger of the two birds. It's going to be a longer bird, without a doubt. It's already longer and stands better than the other light green, but I really don't know about these two. So both of these two birds I'm going to put into the keeper cage. I would not normally keep the older light green, it's not got enough about it, but it is split Ino, and that's the only reason why I would be keeping it. And of all of the split Ino cock birds that we've got, that's probably the best. But the other one I'm going to keep, so the younger of the two, I'm going to keep just to see how it develops, and we'll make a final decision as to which of these two birds we're going to keep in a few months' time, probably September time. So there we go, that's the last of the two birds off of the Ino. So these two light greens are from pair 5. They're both reasonable birds, so it might make some quite nice stock birds. I particularly like the bird on the left, just because it might just be because it's settled a bit more, but it has a bit more style about it, a bit more width of mask. It's lacking between the eyes, so if we do keep it, we'll need to think about that. In fact, you can see both of the birds lack between the eyes. The bird on the right is just, to me, doesn't look quite so good, but it may well be that it's just not stood particularly well and is a bit more stressed out by being in the show cage. If anything, the bird on the right's probably got a little bit more depth, blowing a bit better. Maybe it will settle a bit more now, I don't know. So we'll need, I think these are both birds, both of these are going to go, for the time being, are going to go in the keeper's cage, only because I'm not really sure. And it will depend on what we get, if we get anything out of the pairs we've got down. Right, what I'm going to do now then is I'm going to put the bird on the right back into the keeper cage. I'm going to keep the bird on the left in this cage, and I will pop ring number 1 in. So you can have a look at, we've got something to compare it against. You've only seen it on its own in the cage at the moment, so that's my plan. Let's see if it'll work. Anyway, so I've got these two birds, so I've got the ring number 1 into the cage. I'll see if I can get him back up onto a perch. Now what I want you to remember when you're looking at these two birds is that the ring number 1, the cinnamon opaline grey hen, is still a fair bit younger. So that was the first bird you can gather, first bird we rung with the new rings, and the other one is still on the old ring. So there's still a bit of age difference here. And I think even with the birds, the light green not settling particularly well, now we've put a different bird in with it, we can see that this, well, there you go. Ring number 1 is a keeper. I am absolutely certain. Head and shoulders above this light green that I was thinking about keeping. When I see it like this, you would almost certainly say sales cage for the light green. Yeah, ring number 1 is going to be definitely going to be a keeper. Behaving herself a bit better in the cage now. However, I am going to probably pop both of these two into that keeper cage. Right, that's all of the young birds looked at. And we've had another good chance to see ring number 1, which currently, as we finish on, my favourite bird out of all the birds we've bred so far. Later on, what I might do later on is pop this ring number 1, I say later on in a future episode, pop ring number 1 in with one of the dominant pies, just to see it compared with one of those. So all done. Cheered myself up a bit by looking at ring number 1. Well, I've now done a very early sorting of those birds, and we've now got a sort of keeper's cage, early thoughts on keeping, and a sales cage. Some of the ones that are in the non-keepers or the sales cage are almost certainly, you know, not going to make the grade. I think we could see that with the birds, and particularly the 2 young split Lino birds, the that yellow face opaline. You know, that's never gonna make it, is it? So anyway, so that's that done. A little bit more, you know, it's nice to see that there were some birds in the early rounds, and we've just now got to get these other birds into a position where they're going to start breeding for me. And talking about breeding for me, I will now starting to think about the pairs for the fives. We're at that stage in the year, and I know some people are further ahead than me. I haven't, you know, put them into pair them up yet, or even put any stuff in for the hens to start playing with yet. What I have got to do though is I've got to get out there and give the cages a nice clean, give the shed a bit more of a spruce up before I start thinking about breeding them. And I'm just waiting on some better weather so I can get the cages out, clean them, and get them dried and put back in there, and then pair them up. So if I get some dry weather between now and, you know, next Saturday, then maybe we'll get some look at the birds in the, or the fives out there in the finch and five flight. Let's touch wood on that. Well, anyway, that is just about all we've got time for in this episode. I am going to finish, as always, by saying, most importantly, stay safe. And if you can, no matter how much trials and tribulations they cost you, do it. Just enjoy your birds for what they are, even if they're being a little bit of a pest in terms of that breeding season. Let me know how your breeding season's going on. But anyway, stay safe, enjoy your birds.